It's called Dream Theatre Wank Fest.
It's Dream Theatre Wank Fest. Welcome to episode 7 of the RAGAMUFFIN Music Podcast. I'm Alex.
I'm James.
And I'm Dan.
And this is a place for us to talk about the music we love. Let's look at some news. Very sad to announce that Truck Festival has been cancelled this year. In light of the recent decision by the UK government to delay the lifting of COVID restrictions, Truck announced it was too risky for the event to go ahead this year. All tickets do roll over to next year, but we are absolutely gutted, aren't we, boys?
Definitely. It was pretty much it's the only camping festival I had lined up for this year, and it's gone. It's been taken away from me yet again. Yeah, disappointment. It's a shame because all these festivals cancelling, the pretty much sole reason they're giving is that the government hasn't given them any kind of clarification or guarantee of insurance. So, yeah, it's a bummer. Cheers, Boris.
It's sad to see it all being cancelled, and then you see stuff like the football events where they're having like 60,000 people in there, and that they'll support that but not support the music industry, and I find that a very sad part of it.
Yeah, it feels like another kick in the teeth for the arts, like after the year that we've had. The whole like retrain thing that they did, and then
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
just no support for the live events industry. It just feels, fucking shit.
It almost feels deliberate. I don't want to get too political about it, but it just feels like they're going to go, oh, we'll keep the football because that makes us money and there's loads of corporate partners and stuff that will give us lots of profit. But this little festival, nah.
They can't go ahead.
Fieldy of Korn has announced a hiatus from the band. He said in a statement that he needs some time away to work through some bad habits. Korn have showed their support saying, "We love our brother, health and family always comes first." So we wish him nothing but the best. The download pilot took place this month, and it looked bloody great, didn't it, boys?
It looked amazing. I'm incredibly jealous that I couldn't go. I thought seeing all the footage would make me feel really good about music coming back, but I'm just bitterly jealous and envious of everyone that was there. So if you were there,
Fuck you.
fuck you. But I hope you had an amazing time. And jokes aside, it's great to see some kind of live music.
Definitely, it was like knowing it was happening, and I was at work. When I had free time, I just didn't want to check the stories because I was just jealous of seeing things being uploaded and missing out and not being a part of it, especially as there were so many bands that I really wanted to see that were there.
The lineup was killer.
It was just fantastic, and I think all three of us initially looked at it and thought, could we go? And then looked at the dates and it just didn't work out. But nice to see it was successful, and it is something really positive, at least compared to other ones being cancelled. This showed that people wanted to turn up for the events, they could put on the event, and it has worked.
Yeah, fair play to the organisers. Apparently they only had a month's notice to put it all together. So everyone involved, the bands, the people booking the bands, everyone that builds the infrastructure of the festival, the food vendors, well done everyone.
And it does feel like a kind of glimmer of hope moving forward that they've had these young British bands headline this pilot and show that people love them, especially Enter Shikari, that maybe in the next few years they move away from kind of the older bands and start using these younger bands, homegrown bands. So yeah.
Do need fresher headliners. We do need fresher headliners.
Metallica announced a 30th anniversary reissue of the Black Album, featuring over 50 artists covering songs from the album, including Idols, Pup, Phoebe Bridgers and Miley Cyrus. All proceeds will go to charity. Are we excited about this?
I'm not much of a Metallica fan, but some of my favourite bands are on this lineup of artists, so I might have to get involved.
I think, yeah, I definitely echo that as well. A lot of interesting names being thrown around and announced for certain songs, and a lot of different variations of songs being done by different artists. So it'll be interesting to see all the different takes you're going to get in different styles to some of these absolute classic songs.
Matt Heafy of Trivium has revealed his Twitch revenue. He recently stated that Trivium earn roughly $11,000 a month from streaming services collectively, while Heafy himself earns just under $10,000 a month from Twitch. I just think that's insane to think that Twitch is paying more than one of the most successful bands in metal for their streaming. I think it's an indictment of streaming service royalties. But good news for fans of the streams is he plans to continue doing them even when regular touring comes back.
And why wouldn't you if you can make some decent money from it?
Yeah.
Although it's not necessarily a shock of how much money he makes from streaming, but a shock of how little he makes from Spotify, essentially, who need to pay their artists more.
Hellfest announced their lineup for 2022 with over 350 bands. It's over 7 days, 2 weekends, 6 stages. It's insane. They've got Metallica, Nine Inch Nails, Guns N' Roses and Scorpions, just to name a few. At this point, it's easier to look at the lineup and say, who haven't they booked? Because it's just so stacked. Wish we were going.
Yeah, the lineup's so huge, it's like reading a novel. I think I'm about 3/4 of the way through so far. It's getting through to the bottom stages on the last day now.
And lastly, some more sad news. More bands have been announced that they will not be appearing at Slam Dunk this year. Knucklepuck, Counterparts, Basement, Real Big Fish and Face to Face have all been announced they will not be appearing, but they've added some new bands, including Loathe, Funeral for a Friend, Alkaline Trio, As It Is, Hello Goodbye and Frank Turner. Who are we sad that's dropped off and who are we excited to see that's been added?
I was just looking forward to hearing Real Big Fish's take on me. That was going to be the highlight of Slam Dunk for me. Joking, of course, but it's sad to see a lot of them go. Seen bands like Knucklepuck before, was looking forward to seeing Counterparts, but then seeing like Loathe added on, a band that really got into in the last year, as I think we've talked about multiple times. Very excited to see them.
I was especially disappointed to see Basement drop off. I haven't seen them for a few years, so I was looking forward to seeing them, but it isn't to be. Like James said, Loathe are awesome, and I haven't seen them live yet, so looking forward to that. There's also some Foo Fighters news, who have announced they're set to release a disco covers album under the name The DGs. It'll be titled Hail Satin. It's going to be a special vinyl release for US Record Store Day, and it'll include Bee Gees covers and also some live versions of songs from their latest album, Medicine at Midnight.
James, last episode you recommended us an album. What was it?
I recommended Systematic Chaos by Dream Theater. What do you think of it?
Hot take. I'm not that keen on it.
No?
I'd not really listened to much Dream Theater before, but they reminded me very much of more of a controversial opinion here. They reminded me a lot of Tool, and I also don't really like Tool.
Okay.
It's okay to start off, but I just feel like it all dragged on a bit too much. There's no need to have a whole album of 10-minute songs. Like 1 or 2 on an album, fine, but when you've got 15 minutes per song, it's just a bit much, I think. I did like the song The Dark Eternal Night. I thought that was quite good.
Wonderful riffage.
Me and James have just nodded in approval of that.
Yes. Tune.
But yeah, after a few songs, I was kind of just waiting for the end, if I'm honest.
I kind of expected that from you. I didn't think you would enjoy it as much. Like I really grew into them from purely a drumming perspective. And then just
I can appreciate that they're incredibly talented musicians.
Yeah.
It's just not for me.
No, it is, and like you can get to like maybe the latter half of that album, and it really will start to feel like it's dragging. I would always say I think like the first 4 songs in particular are very, very strong.
That was exactly my opinion of it. I'm familiar with this band already and some of the songs off this album, and Dark Eternal Night, Forsaken, Constant Motion. I enjoy those songs quite a lot, but yeah, I got to the second half of the album and I just thought, when's it going to end? Dan, what did you recommend for us?
I went for a little bit of a sad boy recommendation, something completely different to Dream Theater. I recommended Lontalius's Someone Will Be There For You. Alex, what were your thoughts? I think you like this.
I love this. This is like right up my street. I mean, you said on the last episode that you didn't wait for the podcast to recommend it to me, and
Yeah.
I'm glad because it shows, firstly, you know me very well, but I just loved it. I think the thing that I loved the most about it was actually a lot of the because it's quite a stripped back album for the most part,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of very subtle, simple melodies that are actually just add so much to each song. I think my favourites were the opening track, Someone Will Be There For You, and I'm Good. Yeah, I just loved all of it. It was one of those albums where I put it on and really I just did nothing else. I just focused on listening to it.
Yeah. I personally find it quite a comforting album. Like,
Yeah.
you just put it on and listen from front to back and just stare at the ceiling and feel better about everything.
Yeah. It was quite cathartic by the end of
It's
it.
sad, but it's really reassuring as
Yeah.
well.
So I loved it
And
so
like you
much.
said, the songwriting's quite simple, but the layering in it is quite effective and works really well.
Yeah. I think it was great. James, what did you think?
I just found it some really nice, chilled, like acoustic music, and was listening to it like relaxing in the evening, doing like bits of work and kind of unwinding. I like some electric guitar melodies in between the vocal lines in Faint in the verses. I thought that was like a nice little addition. Then switches really fluently into the piano parts during the last bridge. And I like the end of I'm Good that you mentioned, Alex. It's really welcoming to hear the instruments just drop out, and then the vocals just really had a nice shine at the end. Then it started to get a couple of songs in, and it felt like it was blurring into one a little bit. There's like a very particular distinct sound of just his acoustic guitar and the vocals, and I can appreciate the songwriting being great, but it just started to lose me with like the same kind of tonality. It was nice to see the drum beat start off the song and To Be Happy, which seemed like a bit of a shot of adrenaline compared to how some of the other songs started off. And I loved the production of EQ on the guitar for I Walked Right Into It. And like the part of me that did music tech at A-level,
I love that song.
it just took notice of it immediately because of the effects, and I'm drawn to that straight away. So overall, it was a really, really nice listen. Something that I feel like for me, I've got to be in the right mood for. I wouldn't have chosen it myself, so yeah, it was nice to listen to.
That's the whole point of this. We're getting each other to listen to stuff that we might not have normally listened to, and testing the waters out. See what we like.
So Alex, what was it you recommended?
I recommended Enemy of the World by 4 Year Strong, which I bloody love. So what did you guys think?
I love 4 Year Strong. I've always loved 4 Year Strong. I've always loved this album. I haven't listened to it for a very long time, so this was a good excuse to do so. But every song is a banger. Not most of the songs. Every single song is just hook upon hook upon hook, and it's a brilliant album.
Yeah, I echo that. This was my first proper exposure to them, being a band that I know I've needed to listen to for a while and then not found the time. Now making the time, there's just solid riffage, big catchy choruses. I love the vocals. There's anthems that feel like they're going to be fantastic live with great like crowds sing shout-alongs, like in Tonight We Feel Alive. Loved. There were some songs that just stood out even better, which was like It Must Really Suck to Be 4 Years Strong Right Now, Wasting Time, Find My Way Back, What the Hell is Gigawatt. Absolutely fantastic, and I feel like this was like the kick to get me to listen to them more. And now I'm very excited to see them at Slam Dunk and delve into more of their catalogue ready for that. So yeah, absolutely loved it.
I can add that seeing them live a few times, their live experience is a lot like the album. It's just banger after banger after banger. The intensity doesn't drop. The circle pits constantly, and they just never stop.
Should we look at some of the latest releases then?
Oh, go on then.
We got Burn in the Flood by Our Hollow Our Home. What did you guys think of this?
I mean, first of all, you both know how much of a sucker I am usually for some metalcore. And this was a release I really, really enjoyed. Across the whole album, I found there was a really good balance between both the sung and the screamed vocal sections. The opening lead guitar part in Failsafe gave me some like 2000s Trivium and Bullet kind of vibes. Giving me some absolutely great nostalgia. I found like the first three to be some solid metalcore, but nothing majorly jumped out until it got into Monarch at track 4. Some amazing riffs. It had the standard great cough at the start of a song before it all kicks in, which that just made me laugh.
I got your picture.
The vocal performance shined through, a big catchy chorus and some nice leads. Better Days switched to more of like an easycore kind of sound and kept the album fresh. Nerves opening lead motif was a great intro, makes welcome reappearances. The verses in that were built in absolutely solid riffs. And the bridge section stands out as like a key part in the album that would translate really well into a live setting with crowd participation. Overcast was an absolute tune, with the rest of the songs on the album also following this. I can't say there's a lot I feel I can technically break down on it. It just comes across as some straight up solid metalcore, and each song has like something a little bit different they want us to try, and I feel like it works to make the album flow. So I was a big fan of this.
I liked it as well. I first heard of Our Hollow Our Home years ago because they had a song called Heisenberg, and I really liked Breaking Bad. I still love Breaking Bad. I think I even saw them at a little festival called Butserfest back in the day. It seesaw nicely between the mammoth screams and the catchy, clean vocals. I like that they've got a little bit of a 2010s post-hardcore sound to them, which is quite nostalgic, but also feels quite fresh at the same time. And they've even got a little bit of a rap song in there, in the form of Blood. So yeah, I like the diversity across the album, and they do everything else really well with screams, cleans, heavy bits, softer bits. It's all good.
Of Mice and Men released Bloom. This is the second in the trilogy of EPs that we're expecting this year. I think for me this was probably a bit weaker compared to Timeless. I think the song Bloom stood out the most, especially lyrically. But I think the thing that I'm taking away from this most is that this release strategy with the 3 EPs is, one, making it easier to consume their music in small doses, but also it's keeping them relevant. I mean, I think we've had something from theirs to talk about every episode this year, maybe, or at least for the last 3 months. And I think maybe that's doing them a favour more than just releasing this as an album. So for that, I'm enjoying it. But yeah, I still prefer Timeless a little bit. What about you, James?
I 100% agree with like those 2 points there. First of all, I had listened to Of Mice and Men before this year, and they started this kind of EP system of releasing a couple, and I think there's more coming out this year. So it's been great for me to actually get into this band and listen to them. And I've been playing the Timeless EP pretty much ever since it was released. It's become a regular part of like my rotations of music. And I agree with the Timeless EP being better than this. I think, don't want to take anything away from this because I did really enjoy it. I think that Timeless EP was very, very good.
Yeah, it just suffers by the comparison, I think.
Yeah, and all being released in such a short space of time. I love the small drum beat section in the intro to Levy before the whole band kicks in. Like the dotted guitar, rhythm, riffs. I love a nice space in the sound when just the drums and vocals are more prominent, and some great panning of the guitars in the bridge section. Bloom's got a really groovy riff that's got to get your head bobbing. There's great clarity in the enunciation of the harsh vocals, and the layered vocals during the chorus have a really nice effect. I think Pulling Teeth has also got an absolute killer riff to open the song, with some really, really nicely crafted instrumental sections and some like seamlessly and smooth transitions from the verse to the chorus. Vocals just incredible across all the songs, and I think it's not as strong as Timeless, which I think at the minute is probably one of my favourite releases of the year, but I still think this was a very, very good EP.
They've smashed it again, haven't they? It's another great EP. It's hard hitting and intense throughout the whole thing, especially some of the fast double bass sections on Pulling Teeth. That gave me kind of a bass face kind of thing, and the vocal performance is unbelievable.
You can't fault it.
Really, really good.
It's up there as some of the best in metal at the minute, I think. It's just solid every time.
Yeah. We also got Survivor's Guilt, which is a mixtape KennyHoopla in collaboration with Travis Barker. Dan, what did you think of this?
I absolutely love it. I was a bit worried, and I'm on record on our last episode of saying that I really liked Kenny's sort of old, unique, distinct style, and I was a little sort of kind of worried that doing pop punk it might sort of become a bit repetitive and that he might stray away from that too much. But no, that old style's still there on some of the songs like Survivor's Guilt and Inside of Heaven's Mouth. Him and Travis have absolutely smashed it. It's been on repeat constantly, and I think it's going to be huge one day.
Yeah, I got the impression listening to it of like instant classic pop punk songs. Like a lot of my older favourite
There's a lot of like old Blink.
Yeah,
vibe
you can hear that Travis Barker's fingerprints are all over it. In an interview, he said he was trying to capture the feeling of being in love for the first time, and I think that is exactly how it feels listening to it. The choruses are big, the hooks are so catchy. I think Silence is also an answer, and Inside of Heaven's Mouth was my 2 favourites. This is going to be on repeat for a while for me, I think.
I agree. It's just solid pop punk throughout, really, really well written, and each song like also manages to find its own way to stand out a bit. Travis has got some nice drum section in songs like Inside Heaven's Mouth and Survivor's Guilt, and I've found a lot that being a shorter album it left me wanting more. And I don't know maybe the last time I had that feeling, I think, was Bring Me with the release in September. I felt like I wanted maybe a little bit more from that, but this had it as well. Like by the time it was over, I was like, oh, that's done. I was kind of hoping there's maybe one or two tracks, so it was nice to have that feeling. It's refreshing compared to like the Architects earlier this year, where it felt a little bit too long and a bit of fatigue through it. It felt fresh and it was nice and left that desire for wanting to hear more of the music.
Yeah, it was a perfect length, I think. Like, this is what I want more bands to be doing, kind of 6 to 9 songs. I think, especially with people's, me especially, my attention span. I struggle to sit through a whole album now, and I think this was the perfect length. Yeah, I loved it.
Especially when you're still like a young developing artist as well, to try, when you, like Kenny's obviously just tried a style here to see if it works essentially. So to do it in the form of this mixtape works really well. And to stick with the theme of wanting more, I'm really excited to see what he does next. He's obviously done this pop punk mixtape. Some of his previous work has sort of ventured into drum and bass, like emo, rap, all sorts of different genres and skills. So I'm looking forward to see what he does next. Some credit to where it's due to Travis Barker as well, because we joke that he's everywhere at the moment and collaborating with every artist under the sun, but I think every song he's done has been really good.
Yeah.
Spirit Box released Secret Garden. Just another banger from this band. I know it's early on, but I think they will end up being my band of the year if the album is as good as all the singles that we've had. We said last episode about how good the vocalist Courtney LaPlante is. I think this is even better performance from her. I like that it's just cleans throughout. And it feels like with each song they've put out, it's a slightly different emotion each time. You've got like this compared to Holy Roller, I think will make for a really diverse and interesting album. And the hook in the chorus is just so catchy. I loved it. I think also this is the kind of song that would be accessible to people that maybe don't like metalcore as much. They can hear this song and then go from that to Circle With Me. I think it's a good kind of pathway into their heavier stuff. So great song from them. I love it. What about you guys?
I completely echo that. A lovely catchy chorus with those beautiful vocals. Nice riffs right from the start, with like the melody guitar notes having like a falling effect in like the placements, like creating that kind of stumbling over, which kind of really pushes that song forward. Really groovy bass work. Really nice mix of the instrumentals. And I feel like it's got a really good balance with the instrumentation and the songwriting, with each instrument part like holding its own, but then they interweave beautifully together to create a really, really solid song. It just shows, fantastic songwriting from them, and again, a highly anticipated release for the album, which I think is in September.
Yeah.
I think they will be in that Band of the Year / Album of the Year discussion already, just based on the singles.
It's another solid single from them. They just don't seem to do anything wrong. The vocals again are beautiful. There's a lovely slappy bass in there. It's a lot less heavy than their last release, Circle With Me, but it shows that we may be in for some nice variety on the upcoming album.
We got Sum 41 and Nothing Nowhere collaborating on a song Catching Fire. What did you guys think of this?
It's good. And Nothing Nowhere sounds great on it, but I just thought he'd bring a bit more to it. I was expecting him to go off into like his own verse kind of thing, but he pretty much just sticks to the same melody as the original song. Doesn't really bring much new to it. It's a good vocal performance, but it just feels like he's covering Sum 41 inside a Sum 41 song. So yeah, it feels like a little bit of a pointless feature, if I'm honest.
I echo that the same. It's a good song. It's a nice feature. Nothing feels majorly special. To me, it's starting to feel a little bit like Sum 41 is becoming more of Derek's backup band for a solo project, and less like the Sum 41 I grew up on. And I get they're going to develop, but like that kind of core sound of what you hear just seems to be fading more, and the instrumentation is less varied. There's less like dynamic range, less, I think, like well thought out or better riffs. And it feels like it's getting a little bit more stale and more just focused on his vocals and that kind of performance. So I'm a little bit disappointing from there, but I'll always have like a soft spot for this band growing up listening to them. So maybe that's just me holding on to like the old part that I loved.
Creeper released Midnight. I like old Creeper. But
There it is.
I think I don't know. In a way, the song has like this impressive theatrical sound, but at the same time, I was underwhelmed. I think sometimes just the tone of his voice it's a delicate balance between loving it and hating it, and this was the wrong side of that balance for me. What about you guys?
I pretty much exactly agree with that. Creeper have always been a bit hit or miss for me. Some of their songs I love, others I love a lot less. This one kind of falls somewhere in the middle. Like Alex mentioned about Will's vocals, they kind of grinded on me a little bit in this song, and it sounded good in the chorus at times, but then at other times, I guess there's an inconsistency there of the vocal style.
Yeah.
I did think Hannah's vocals were a lot stronger in this. I enjoyed her parts, and the duet style works quite well. And the song only really comes to life in the chorus. Everything else is a bit of you're along for the ride and waiting for the chorus to come in. James?
Yeah, I agree. I'm not really a fan of the male vocals in this, but much preferred the female vocals. My first thought that came to mind when I heard the intro, for some reason, was High School Musical. Make of that what you will. It seems like a good written song. I can't really knock it too much. It's got a tasteful little guitar solo, which was probably the highlight for me. And it's nice to like listen to new music and broaden taste. But yeah, this is a pass for me.
Trashboat released their third single from their upcoming album, and the title track, Don't You Feel Amazing? James, what do you think about this one?
I got some Royal Blood vibes with like the guitar tones and vocal performance style. I love the basic but absolutely solid drum beat. Lovely catchy chorus, really strong vocal performance. Not a great deal of progression in the song, but I feel it's still strong throughout. And then between this and Silence is Golden, it's got me looking forward to this Trashboat album release in August a lot more. And from me, who I hadn't really listened to them before this year, and based on those two songs more, very much looking forward to that, yeah.
I like it. It's dark, it's crunchy, it's heavy, and like James said, I got a lot of Royal Blood vibes from it. Although, having said that, it is my least favourite of the new singles. It feels a little bit ploddy at times, but they don't care what I think anyway.
It's interesting you both say Royal Blood, which I agree with, but I also got a lot of sort of 9 Inch Nails, kind of like almost like unsettling like vibes from it, which I liked. Toby, the vocalist, described the song as being about giving into like hedonism and fantasies and excess. And musically it feels like that. Like I feel a bit like grimy listening to it, like in a good way. I think also as well, if you look at a lot of old pop punk bands, they've either gone stale, neck deep, or they've moved away from pop punk in an interesting way, which is what Trashboat and Boston Manor have done.
I was about to make the Boston Manor comparison as well.
Yeah, I think it's just a really... sounds like matured the sound perfectly into like a more of a realised idea, whereas sometimes with pop punk you listen to it and it's just like a bit generic. But Trashboat have always had that kind of littered throughout their old releases. They've
always had a bit of a dark side to them.
Yeah. It just feels like they're embracing just whatever they want, and all 3 singles are different but cohesive at the same time. So I think this is shaping up to be a really good album. We got a new song as well from Memphis Mayfire called Blood and Water. I never thought in the year 2021 I'd be enjoying this band, but here we are. An incredible song, and he's always been a great vocalist. He's a bit annoying, but he's a good vocalist, so fair play. What did you guys think about it?
This was my first proper exposure to them as well, after like hearing you talk about them a lot, Alex, before. Fantastic vocals. There's amazing clarity again in the enunciation of the words and the screams, which then transition really smoothly into the cleans in the chorus, which I just hit right back into some gnarly riffs in the verse, which I just cannot stress how great they are. Amazing building the bridge into the breakdown, which has surely got to get people headbanging along before like one really big last chorus. I just found this a 10 out of 10 metalcore song. I absolutely loved it, and I thought it was fantastically well written, very well performed, and I feel I need to check more Memphis May Fire out.
I don't think I'd listened to Memphis May Fire until I listened to this one since I was in school.
Yeah, me too.
And to be honest, this doesn't sound too much different to how they sounded back then, which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. The only new thing really is the addition of kind of the electronic element, which is present in the intro and then in the background a little bit littered throughout the song. And it felt a little bit standard in terms of the structure, but it's good. It'll be in the playlist for sure.
Sleep Token's return with their new song Alkaline.
Sleep Token are doing a very good job of becoming one of my favourite bands. I've had this on repeat constantly since it's come out. It builds at the start in signature Sleep Token fashion, but it really kicks in during the second verse. There's some really interesting time signatures. It feels basically gent pop at times, is one of the ways I can think of to describe it. The chorus is amazing. It's massive. It's catchy. The drums sound insane. I'm basically just listing off all the good things here. It's got an awesome breakdown towards the end. And there's some nice little details in there, like there's a synth loop that goes along in the background, which sounds quite similar to their song Jaws. And there's a little intake of breath just before the breakdown from Vessel, which I just think is really cool. If I have one criticism is that it feels like it maybe needs another chorus at the end, but that could just, knowing Sleep Token, be a deliberate thing, and they're just trying to catch people out. And I just can't wait for the album. Worship.
It's just phenomenal. It is amazing. There's great vocals to start it off. I find myself really listening to his lyrics, like with the tone that he has in the vocal sounds. There's something about them that feels like he's really telling a story and is like gripping you and really makes you listen to him. The electronic drums were a nice transition point before the full band coming in, and just groovy instrumentals with such a full texture of the sound. Some lovely drum fills during the chorus that I just appreciate on a different level. They are phenomenal, and they have such a captivating sound. And I'm extremely excited for the new album in September, and like seeing videos of them at the Download Pilot in particular, they look like they're going to be a phenomenal live band, and they're a band I'm itching to see. As soon as we can get gigs back, them doing a full headline set somewhere, and even them being a smaller band, maybe in like a small club, is probably going to be a gig that we will all go to and probably never forget, because that will be a highlight. I think they're fantastic, and I am very much looking forward to this album coming out.
Yeah, I don't think I can say anything that will add any more to what you guys have said. I think as a vocalist, he's one of the best and most unique for the genre. I feel like there's like an obvious Sam Smith comparison when you think about pop music, and hearing that on like gent pop, as you said, Dan, I think it's just insane. The lyrics are really poetic, and I just think like it's important for bands to be visually like interesting, and the video is so good. There's just this aura about this band that like
Vessel basically becomes a Sith Lord in the video if you haven't seen it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like this mini horror film, but he's still like the hero in a weird way. It's great. I love this band. I think they're so interesting.
But even like I said, the music is captivating. So I find the visuals in that music video, you find yourself just watching to see what's going to happen. And again, you're kind of like seeing a story being told, and that it's almost like a Slipknot thing. They've always been like, let's create something around the music. It's like a culture. Let's create.
Well, they've got a whole
visuals.
lore
Yeah.
of who they're worshipping and why they are like dressed in like a cult kind of thing. Which if anyone listening doesn't know about, look into it and check them out. It's really interesting and unique. I don't really know many bands that have done something like that.
There's no one else like them.
No,
Not to this extent, no.
It's phenomenal. And basically, if you haven't checked them out, what the fuck are you doing? You need to go and listen to Sleep Token right now.
I mean, you two mentioned Spirit Box as being a band that could be in a band of the year and an album of the year contention. I think Sleep Token are going to be the front runner for me. I think
That's fair. Yeah.
I think with this next album, they could perk a lot of people's ears up and could go on to big things. Also, back to talking about the lore of Sleep Token, Alex mentioned that there's comparisons to Sam Smith's vocals.
Mm.
They're actually anonymous, aren't they? No one really knows who Vessel is.
Maybe it is him.
There's people saying it could be Rob Damiani from Don Broco. There's people saying it could be Dan from Bastille. So if there's any Sleep Token fans listening, let us know in the comments. Who do you think is the vocalist for Sleep Token? Some say it's me.
Could be.
Nice. You disappear from time to time.
Have you ever seen me and Vessel in the same room?
I can't say I have.
Welsh rockers Bullet for My Valentine released Knives. What do you guys think of this?
I've not got much to say about it. I've never been a massive Bullet fan, but to be fair, this slaps. Yeah, I've not really got anything else to say. It's just a solid song.
I think it's got a fun intro into the groovy riff. Chorus doesn't really seem to grab my interest as much as the verses do. Matt Tuck's vocal performance I felt was good, but in the grand scheme of what you're hearing now, metal, it doesn't stand out as anything special to me. Overall, yeah, it's just a good song, and that's kind of about it. It doesn't really do anything wrong, but apart from the guitar riff, nothing really jumped out to me as being notable. It was okay.
Yeah, I think I completely agree. You know, it's a great song. If it came up on shuffle, I don't think I'd skip it, but I wouldn't, go out of my way to listen to it. I just got a lot of love and respect for Bullet, especially like the Fever album. I listened to a lot growing up, so I'm always happy to listen to a bit of Bullet. And lastly, we got a new song featuring the brand new vocalist for Real Friends called Nervous Wreck. What do we make of this one?
This was my first proper listen to them. I found it a very, very good musical arrangement with so many developments in each of the instruments, keeping it really intriguing and fresh throughout the track. An absolutely solid vocal performance and just a fantastically written song. I need to listen to more Real Friends, I think, is what I've got out of this in particular.
I was a bit tentative going into it, and after the first couple of listens, I was still a bit bitter about Dan not being the vocalist anymore, because I thought he was kind of what made Real Friends what it was, and was a really good frontman and vocalist. But this still sounds like a Real Friends song. The new vocalist Cody is brilliant, and it didn't take me long to get used to it not being Dan anymore, and I can see a Real Friends future without him. There were some similarities with Seaway at times, which for me is absolutely a good thing.
Looking to July, there are a couple of releases to keep an eye on. On the 2nd, Born of Osiris will release Angel or Alien. On the 9th, Mayhem will release Atavistic Black Disorder, the Commando EP. On the 23rd, we've got Closure from Attila. And on the 30th, Chunk No Captain Chunk will release Gone Are the Good Days. Anything you're excited for there, boys?
I'm going to be honest, not particularly anything that's jumping out to me. The actual thing I'm looking forward to next month is Slaughter to Prevail are having a new song coming out, I think called Zavali E Below. I've been jamming them constantly. I'm just looking forward to their new song. That's what's driving me through to next month.
There's not much on that list that appeals to me, but I'll tell you what, I don't mind a bit of Chunk No Captain Chunk. So I'm looking forward to another return.
I'm excited for Mayhem. I know James enjoys calling me a little Satanist, but I enjoy that band, so I'll be checking that out.
You little Satanist.
That or this or that. That or this or that. That or this or that. That or this.
There's a rumour floating around that it could be coming home. That's right, it's the Euros at the moment. And to celebrate the footy, I've built a five-a-side tournament with some great bands. And before anyone in the comments gets smart, I know that the picture on screen is them holding the World Cup trophy, but it's just Spadil and Skinner, so it's a laugh. Okay, so the way this is going to work is I'll give you the matchup, and we'll just go majority rules. So if you're outvoted 2-1, tough. And also, this is just on just pure instinct. Who you think would win in a football match? Architects versus Boston Manor.
Architects, for me, off pure instinct.
I know that Sam Carter's proper into his football, so I'm going to go for Architects as well.
I agree, Architects. The next matchup, While She Sleeps versus Neck Deep.
I'm going to go with Sleeps.
I think I'm going to go for Neck Deep. Ben, like Sam Carter, is a big football fan. He's a fellow Man United fan. So I think I've got to stick by him. Also, the energy that West puts out on stage, I think he'll just be spinning around defenders.
I think...
No pressure. You've got the deciding vote here.
Yeah. I think a few years ago, I would have almost no questions said Neck Deep. But I feel like they've just lost a step in the last few years. Maybe they don't have it in them anymore. So for that, I'll say Sleeps. Next up, Bring Me the Horizon versus Trash Boat.
Trash Boat. First one that came to mind. I just think, yeah. I have no idea really. Just go Trash Boat.
Just the last one that was said.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Toby's pretty hench. He's probably quite physical. He could knock some defenders out of the way. Or make some good blocks if he was a defender himself. I think, if I'm really honest, we're overthinking this too much. I'm going to go with Bring Me the Horizon, just to give Alex the awkward deciding vote. Also, because I remember Ollie Sykes wearing an England shirt in 2015 when they played Reading and Leeds.
I think I'll say Trash Boat. Last up in the quarterfinals, Loathe versus Beartooth.
I feel like Loathe will take that. I just feel like Beartooth being American, just typically we're just gonna be like they're not very good, and just Loathe taking it to him straight away.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Beartooth are American. They call it soccer, so yeah, they're not going through.
Yeah, I just had to fill the bracket really. I couldn't think of another 5-piece band. So. Yeah, Loathe as well. Alright, the first semi-final, we've got Architects versus Sleeps.
Oh, that's difficult. I don't even know. I don't know what I'm even judging on, so why is it difficult? I'm going to go with Architects. I feel like... I don't know why I feel like anything. I'm just going to go with Architects.
I predict a semi-final shock here. I think Architects, on paper, are probably the favourites. But I can see, While She Sleeps, bamboozling them and just taking the win. I think Sav will be a safe pair of hands in goal. And I think Sean will possibly use some distraction tactics. And Loz will just stick it in the back of the net and swing off the crossbar.
I think I agree. I think Sleeps will just play straightforward football and that will see him through.
Route 1, no nonsense.
Route 1, no nonsense, exactly. And the other semi-final, Trash Boat versus Loathe.
I'm tending towards Loathe. I just feel they'll be aggressive in that. Purely, I think, because of the music output of what they do. I don't know why it's making me think that. I just feel like they're going to take it to them. They're going to be offensive and they're going to push it.
I think Trash Boat will bring in super sub Dan Campbell from the Wonder Years here for a feature. He'll come on and he'll win it for them. It's Trash Boat for me.
I think Loathe dress so well that they would be hesitant to get fully stuck in, and that would leave them
standing tackles only from Loathe.
Whereas Trash Boat, 2-footers. I'm proud. So I think Trash Boat will win.
What is this?
Alright, now the big final. While She Sleeps versus Trash Boat.
I'm going with The Boy Sleeps. I think Sleeps would take that.
I'm having to have a think about this one.
He's leaning back in his chair, having a ponder.
I think Trash Boat are going to bring out, not a super sub this time, they're going to bring out an old move in the form of one of their old songs from the EP. It's going to be too fast for While She Sleeps to deal with, and they're just going to fly past and win it.
Decision.
It's all come down to me, isn't it?
To you. You created this and it's all coming down to you.
It's stressful. I don't know. I'm picturing that Sleeps will go all out attack, Trash Boat park the bus, and get a very cheeky counter last minute. Trash Boat to win. There we go.
And there we have it.
It's just a bit of fun, innit? Let us know in the comments who you think would win this Fantasy 5-a-side league. And that was this. This month's featured song is Butterfly by Cat Damage. Cat Damage is a one-man band from the UK who works with featuring vocalists, and all music is written and recorded via GarageBand, which you wouldn't know from listening to it. I think it sounds really, really well produced. This particular track is called Butterfly, and it features French vocalist Dory Loop, and they found each other through Reddit. It's their first music project, and it sounds great. What did you guys think?
It's just some solid pop punk. I love the rawness of the sounds. A really, really strong vocal performance, and it's just got a great flow throughout the song. Really engaging. I absolutely rate the album art being the pizza on top of the roof from Breaking Bad. I thought that was just a nice little addition to it. Yeah, really, really good song.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's got a solid noughties pop punk vibe to it, along with a kind of new wave pop punk sound as well. It's got a really catchy chorus, which I was singing along to by the end of the first listen, which is always a good sign that you know the words by the end of the song. I can imagine a really good circle pit to it seeing it live, and like James said, it's got Roof Pizza as the cover art, so that gets some bonus points.
So this is Cat Damage with Butterfly.
Cause they were insecure. I think it's kinda sad they don't have any fucking passion, cause to fight for. Teachers and my parents worried, said it's not a job. Why the fuck would I want to be like you guys? You hate your fucking jobs. 10 years have passed in the twinkle of an eye. Went by so fast like a little butterfly slide. Some have money, some have families. My bliss working like a charm. In the twinkle of an eye, like a little butterfly's life. In the twinkle of an eye, yeah, my bliss working like a charm.
So if you're an independent band and you'd like a feature on the podcast, check in the description down below. We've got some details there of how to submit to us, and who knows, maybe next podcast your song could be on here.
So for the discussion this month, we've looked back at every year of download, and we are going to try and decide which year had the best headliners. James, which year did you think had the best headliners?
So looking between it all, I started by just narrowing it down, and I got down to two. Eventually, I got down to 2013 and 2014. 2013 being Slipknot, Iron Maiden, and Rammstein, and 2014 being Avenged Sevenfold, Linkin Park, and Aerosmith. And then I noticed something on the 2014 bill. I saw that Linkin Park were playing Hybrid Theory in full, and I was sold. Songs such as like Paper Cut, One Step Closer, Crawling, Runaway, In the End, A Place for My Head, all being played in one set.
I mean, it's one of the best albums of all time.
It would be incredible. The live experience of that would be insane. I'm not too fussed about Aerosmith. I mean, you just don't want to miss a thing with them. But then,
Did you mean that as a pun?
And then Avenged Sevenfold being only one album removed from having Nightmare released, which was the album that really got me into them. Would have been probably one of the best times for me to see them live. So I feel like going 2014 with Avenged, Linkin Park, and Aerosmith personally would be the best Download Festival in terms of headliners so far that I could go to. Dan?
So I went to Download in 2017 when one of my favourite bands, Biffy Clyro, headlines alongside System of a Down and Aerosmith. But that's not the one I picked.
Ooh.
Although I love Biffy Clyro, and their set was one of my favourite sets I've seen, they didn't really draw a crowd, so I don't think you can say that they were one of the best headliners. System of a Down were kind of average, and Aerosmith just seemed tired and didn't really do it for me. So the year I've gone for is 2010, which had, on Friday, kicking off the festival, AC/DC. As rock and roll goes, it doesn't get much better than that. I believe they insisted on having their own stage set up, which is a very unique thing. I know it's controversial at the time, but that's quite cool. That's a cool thing to do. And only AC/DC can get away with that, I think. On the Saturday, Rage Against the Machine. You don't really need to say much about that. One of the most iconic bands of the genre. You don't really see them headline much more. They're meant to do Reading and Leeds, but yeah, that went a bit shit. That went wrong. And I know Aerosmith. I said Aerosmith was shit in 2017, but I think 7 years previously, in 2010, they probably would have been all right. They've got some bangers, and I think it probably would have been pretty good.
Gotta say, it does say a lot about Download when you can say about 2010 having Aerosmith, 2014 having Aerosmith, 2017 having Aerosmith.
And that's why I think choosing a year for this sort of discussion was surprisingly easy, because a lot of the headlines are the same year in, year out. You just got to pick one that stands out. And I think AC/DC and Rage Against the Machine, because they haven't really headlined any other time, that's why this one stood out for me.
I think that's a really solid pick, and you almost convinced me to change my answer with that.
I was going to say, Alex, will you be seeing Aerosmith?
I love Aerosmith. No, I would have been seeing Rage Against the Machine and losing my mind. That's a really good pick. I looked at a few. 2014, like James said, was very, very good. I think especially for Hybrid Theory being played in full. I think I'm going to go with 2013, which was Slipknot, Iron Maiden, and Rammstein. And the reason being, I think you could make a case for those three bands being regarded as some of the best live bands of all time. And I think on that scale with that crowd, that feels a bit to me like kind of the stars aligning. So this was Slipknot during the All Hope Is Gone era, which was incredible. I think Maiden put on a hell of a show. And Rammstein, I think there's something about them that, even though I'm not a huge fan of them, like listening at home, I think live I would just lose myself in it. And I think you got to consider that, like, the three headliners, particularly, I know we talk shit on like the old guard, but they're there for a reason, and because it draws a lot of people. I think Maiden especially are just like one of the biggest draws.
That's always been a thing, like when we went, Slipknot, Tool, and Def Leppard. For us, we mostly went for headlines to see Not. And you can see why people are going to bring Def Leppard and bands like that to bring those people in. you look at that and it's like, I wouldn't necessarily choose to go to an Iron Maiden concert. I wouldn't choose to go and see some of these classic bands, but it's always a thing of like, you're at Download Festival, fuck it, why not go and see them? So you can kind of have that vibe, and even people that aren't necessarily going to listen to them, you can appreciate what they've done for like the music scene. And even if you know a few songs, just go and stand at the back and have a drink and just appreciate the music they've put out there over the years and how they've influenced the bands that you listen to. There's always something you can kind of take away from those kind of headliners anyway.
Well, I usually get sold on the download lineup on the bands further down the bill, personally. You can always find me at the Avalanche stage at Download. But like James said, I'm never going to go out of my way to go and see Kiss, but I'm looking forward to seeing them at Download next year.
Alex, you'll be going out of your way to go and see Kiss.
I'm going to be face painted and everything.
I think we all should do that.
I think, though, having to do the research for this did highlight that glaring issue of there's a very small pool of bands that they recycle. So with that being said, just off the top of your head, each give me one band in the next 5 years that's new that you would like to see headline Download.
Instantly, I'm going to Bring Me the Horizon. I feel like they've got the catalogue, they've got the diversity in the musical sound, they're drawing a crowd of all ages, people that listen to the old sound, people that listen to more of like the Ammo era, potentially. They're big enough, they're a great British band, and I think it's well overdue them having a high level spot at Download Festival.
I think Bring Me the Horizon are big enough to headline it now.
I agree.
Not just in a few years' time. I think they're ready now. But to throw another name in there, I think one that isn't quite ready yet, but maybe in a few years' time, Architects. I would love to see
100%.
Download. Yeah. I think they're popular enough now as well to do it. They've got the back catalogue. It'd be a huge day, and it'd be quite a big turning point. I think it'd be like a changing of the guards of old to new.
I could see potentially maybe give it a couple of years. You could even see a Bring Me as a headline, and even maybe not Architects just yet, but them as just the sub underneath them on the main stage. This kind of like British era, and then maybe Sleep's just underneath them. You can see that British era of like who's really pushing the way in metal over here. Really kind of like have its shine on the main stage.
I think they'll need to start testing it out. So that's quite a plausible thing to have Bring Me, who might be ready now, with someone like Architects or another future headliner underneath. You can see hints of it starting to happen with Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes being so high up on the bill on the year that got cancelled. So yeah, they're starting to promote British bands, and with the Download pilot last week, that showed there is a demand for those type of bands.
Alex?
But time will tell.
I'll put out a bit of a one I'm maybe not so sure about, but I think with the direction that their music is heading, I think in a couple of years, if they grow enough, maybe Beartooth. I mean, we've seen with their UK tours that they're going from bigger venues each time they come back. I feel like, I don't mean this in like a negative way, but like their music is becoming a bit more accessible for fans. And I think they are the kind of band that they could play a set that would have enough heavy and enough sort of rock and roll to please a lot of people. So I think that's one potentially. You
can see like how big they've been in America. They've been headlining big festivals like in their home state. They've been in Columbus and they've been doing
Germany and Europe. They're huge in.
And where is it we're seeing them in February? Is it
Brixton.
And like we've seen them. I remember like you and me, Dan, years ago. We went and saw them in O2 in Birmingham, and it seemed really small then.
Academy 2, I think.
It wasn't even the main one.
Small room.
I think we've gone on a lot of tours to see Beartooth, and we've kind of seen that growth every time they've come back to the UK and done a tour. It's getting bigger. More and more people I know are hearing of them. I don't think I could be past putting that in there. They're definitely a shout for it.
I reckon they'll hit on the second stage in a couple of years.
Definitely. I think they're a band. I think maybe let's see how Below does. That'll be out. By the time this podcast is released, Below will be out. Let's see how that does and the reception we get from that.
But then, like, with that being said, you look at a band like Slayer, who are pretty huge, will still only, the year that we went, headlining second stage. So it becomes a question of, like, where's the threshold for being big enough? Because I would argue that Slayer could headline Download.
I agree. And I think like Trivium have been one that have been talked about, like I've seen in subreddits and stuff like that, where again they've got the catalogue, and again I think they could plausibly headline it now, and I would love that. It becomes a lot of, I think, Download progression. And I know you said this before, Dan, about like Sleeps at 2000 Trees, where they've kind of played every stage there and they've had the progression of going all the way through, and it depends on if Slayer, I couldn't say off the top of my head of how high they've got on a main stage without like looking into it, but have they had the progression? Have they then built their way up and gone to any of those higher points, or was headlining second stage the biggest thing? And then I think it comes into Download billing and how are they going to then push these new acts, and how are they going to promote them from being on a Dogtooth to an Avalanche to a Second to a main stage kind of band. And it's their progression throughout maybe 3-year cycles of where they place them.
That's where it gets a little bit worrying for Download, in that the names that we just mentioned for future headliners, like Architects, Bring of the Horizon, they haven't played Download Festival in years. So does that mean Download doesn't mean Download is saving them for like this big, Architects are back at Download, then they're headlining, or are they not bothered about them and don't want to give them this progression?
Yeah.
Because at the moment there's a big target audience at Download that might not have heard Architects, because they just go every year for the big bands like Iron Maiden perhaps that are on at the end of the day. They might not have ever checked out Architects, so why would they want them headlining their festival?
Of all the ones we've said, I think Trivium are probably the least, is like the path of least resistance. I think if you were that kind of person who's like a bit of a metal elitist, Trivium's probably the easiest option, because you can see people being, I mean, we've seen it this year with Biffy. People are livid about it.
Hilarious, personally.
I find it hilarious, but
You just get but then it's people's opinions. Everyone's got an opinion on a band, and some people are gonna hate seeing Slipknot there again when they play, because that will obviously happen again at some point. Everyone's gonna have their bands that they want to see headline it, and it's just pleasing, I guess, as many of the majority as you can with those different headliners, and that will allow it for different people.
It feels like the Download bookers can't win at the moment. If they book someone new like Biffy, they get the original hardcore elitist Download goers complaining that it's not Slipknot or Maiden or someone else. If they book Slipknot or Maiden or someone else, you've got another group of people, probably me included, saying, you need something new, you need to try something new. So they just can't seem to win.
But they have, I think it's all about balance, and this, I say this year, I mean as in next year, seems like the most balanced in a long time, because I'm not against having these old bands here if it's balanced by other new bands, but thing is, it's going to get to a point where are going to have a year of just 3 young bands, and Download will suffer for it, because they haven't phased in.
It'll be a big shock.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't sell out.
Whereas they need to start phasing them in, I think.
These classic bands can't be touring forever.
A lot of them are
There's gotta
wrapping
be a
up.
point.
Slayer are done. Kiss are on their last ever tour. Well, so they say.
They've been on it for 4 years.
You know,
but still.
Sabbath probably won't ever come back to it. You're going to run out of bands eventually. Yeah. A great discussion, lads.
In the comments below, which year of Download Festival do you think had the best headliners? Do you agree with either one of us? Let us know.
And who do you think should headline in the future?
James, what album would you like to recommend?
So I am going to recommend Phantom Anthem by August Burns Red. It is my favourite album by them, I'd say. The title track, I think, is one of the best ways to open an album. Songs like The Frost, I think it's a fantastic song. And I believe Invisible Enemy won a Grammy Award for this band. It has probably my favourite ride cymbal work in the intro of any song of all time. I think it's a fantastic metalcore album, so yeah. Phantom Anthem by August Burns Red.
This month I'm going for a British band that I don't think gets enough recognition. They're called Palm Reader. Their album is called Sleepless. I've known them since about 2013 when their debut album Bad Weather dropped. I was a big fan of that one. Honestly, I didn't listen to them much more from them since then until this album, which came out last year. But it's heavy, it's raw, at times it's atmospheric, and the vocals are brilliant. Definitely worth checking out.
And I'm going to recommend Disobedient by Stick to Your Guns. I just think it's a great hardcore album. A lot of good, strong lyrical themes that have remained relevant to this day. Just a good raging album. Once again, thanks for watching, and if you're not already, why not hit subscribe? You never miss out on another video. We have this podcast every month, album and single reviews, news updates, and other videos in the world of alternative music.
If you want to be part of the featured artist section, have a look in the description of the video. Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.
And why not comment below any of your thoughts on any of the music we've reviewed, or your thoughts on our download discussion. And if you've made it this far, comment worship.